just plug in where I think she. Uh,
You know, there's always two sides to every story or to every coin. My version is we were playing a game, Words with Friends, and it was very popular 7 years ago. I guess 8 or 9 years ago, it was very popular. It's an online Scrabble game. And we were Facebook friends at the time, but not anyone who I communicated with at that time.
why do you want to say it like that?
Well, at that time, you were accepting friend requests from anybody who you had a whole bunch of friends in common with. I don't do that now, but at that time we did, and we had over 100, 300 friends in common. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll add him. Anyway, fast forward to Words with Friends. We were playing an online game, and he there was a feature where you could inbox, and he inboxed me. I keep saying I was going to go back to that, see if I can go back to it, see if it's still there, just to be truthful, because he inboxed me first. Something like, how is it that you're managing to cheat or something? Because every single time I beat him.
I'm attracted to cheaters.
Whatever. Honey, we're not going to go there. So we started just communicating through Words with Friends, and by now everybody knows Gary's humor, and he cracked me up. All of his, messages that he sent me were funny, and then it kind of started being where I was looking forward to the messages as opposed to playing a game with him. So at one point he did ask, I guess we communicated through that message, that inbox a couple of times, a couple of weeks, what, 3-4 weeks maybe?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't remember, but a few weeks, and then he asked for my telephone number, and wanted to know first before he asked my number if I lived with somebody. I guess that was his way of finding out if I was. You did. You wanted to know if I lived with someone.
Maybe I was gonna rob you or something. I don't know.
Maybe. But I told him that I lived with 2 other people. And I did, Kari and Kennedy. And I did give him my number. And he called me, and we talked constantly. And he was living in Warner Robins, Georgia. And I, of course, was living here in Huntsville. And I'll let you plug in some stuff.
Yeah.
I've talked enough.
You show me. I like to hear you talk, cause I run my mouth, but over and over again in the same stuff. No, but anyway, yeah, like she was saying, we hooked up over the phone, talking back for the longest. I don't know if that went for a month or two, something like that. I can't remember.
We started in July, talking on the phone.
Oh, you remember a month? I remember a month.
Early August, because you're impatient. And I said early August and said that, and you'll find out why. Keep going.
I think you got a phone call. So we ended up getting to the point where we said, because we spoke a lot on the phone and everything, we was like, okay, let's try to hook up. I knew that she had, she's a single mom and all, so I said, well, I'll come to you and hang out because my children at the time was visiting their mother for the summer, so I was free. So I said, yeah, set the time and I just come in, don't matter, just hang out for the weekend and everything. So she set this weekend up.
It was Labor Day weekend, September. It was. Okay. I remember.
It sure enough was, because that was our first picture. Was Stephanie took our first picture. That's right.
Yeah, I remember. That's why I said we started talking in August. He was very impatient. He was not going to be patient enough he was not going to be patient enough to wait a little bit longer. It was like he kept hinting around, let's meet up. So that's why we started talking on the phone in early August, and we met up Labor Day weekend a month later.
Man, we ain't in our 20s no more. We in our 40s. This midlife now.
We were approaching.
Well, I was 40.
I was approaching. I was still in my 30s.
It's
39.
still mid. Hey, that's still midlife,
38 or something like
middle
that.
age.
Yeah.
So I ended up coming over, and I haven't been to church for a good while, so we decided to meet up at church. So I was like, yeah, let me just go ahead and pull out some of my old, uh,
Church attire.
yes, my old church attire. Went and got my black baggies, they go with anything, and grabbed the shirt, and I just threw them in the bag.
Just basic black pants, white shirt. Basic.
It was white. See, I don't even remember that. I remember the pants, and I'll tell you why I remember the pants, because got dressed and got together and everything, and I was like, okay, church starts around this time. Okay,
you came in town and went to your hotel, right?
Yeah, I came to the hotel. I don't know if I came that morning, that night. I can't
remember.
Did.
You came that morning, early that morning.
Well, I guess I came, checked in, it didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
And then got ready to go out the door. It's like, man, and my zipper broke. I'm like, oh, man. But I was like, shoot, I don't feel like going and try to buy no new pants, plus,
I really want to see this woman.
Yeah, I wanted to see what she's like in real life. And I said I didn't want to go buy no pants and never wear them again. So I said, let me just go ahead. So let me just go ahead and just make sure the shirt is not tucked in. So I put a shirt out, let it hang out. And, when I went to church, got there, as soon as I got there, I had to get a bulletin. So, cover yourself up in the front. So, that's how, I did it. And then when she turned around, it was like the clouds parted and the angelic voices of the angels. Probably the praise team, I'm not sure. But I heard music.
No, it was the angels. There was a harp playing. It was the angels.
And I was like, wow. If there was ever a time that I could say,
it's a violin.
This is harps.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you funny. Yeah, so I was, if there was any time I could say I was smitten by someone, it was at that time when she turned around, because I was like, that's wow. So sweet. I looked at she looked totally different from her pictures. And I was like, man, okay, this is going to be all right, man. I thought this was going to be a quick turnaround trip. I might hang in there to the end of service, so.
She's so crazy.
Even put a little offering in the plate, so yeah.
You tell the long story.
Okay. May 2008, just prior to Memorial Day weekend, had a TIA. So soon thereafter, they hooked me up with a cardiologist, and I'd have to go in there a time or two a week because I was on Coumadin, and they had to prick my finger to see how thick or how thin my blood was. The nurse who normally did all the pricking, was Angela. So as time went on, I started to develop a little affinity for this little lady. But being professional, I just left well enough alone. So I came in one day, and I asked Rhonda, who was one of her good friends, hey, look here, where's the little black nurse that, with the accent and stuff, She said, you talking about Angela? Yeah, Angela stuff. Well, no, she's not here today. She celebrated her 40th birthday, and she just took off today. So in my mind, I'm thinking, because all this time, I'm thinking, wait a minute, this little young 31, 32-year-old chick would have it. Ain't no happenings. But when, the other nurse said 40, I did the quick math. I said, she is striking range. She is striking range, So sometime soon thereafter, I had got my nerve up to give her a call, call the office and stuff, trying to make it official. Yes, this is Mr. Martin. Need to talk to Nurse Long when she's available. Well, she isn't available right now, so I left my number. Wish I hadn't, but she called me back. I never stuttered in my life, but I wound up stuttering, thinking about all kind of stuff. My blood feel like it's too thick, and all this other good trash. So we kind of talked off and on, not a whole lot. I was sitting in the restaurant one day, and she came in, and I just said, hey, look, it's now or never. So I just went over and, talked to her, whatever. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Soon thereafter, we went for a little run, because, hey, she's a fitness buff. I was a fitness buff, too, So what, went on this run, and I'm running behind her and stuff, because I'm just, I don't want to dust off or anything like that.
He's checking
I was just checking out. And it just seems like each step I took, it was like what I was feeling for her was going, I'm talking about feeling from the heart now, okay, was getting stronger and stronger. So we finished up the run, we were stretching out, and I went to kiss her, and she did a Muhammad Ali on me. She just ducked, bob and duck, what have you. And, we wound up getting together sometime after that, started dating, and the rest is history. Very good history, I might add. Very good history.
Anything you want to add to that?
It was totally unexpected. So I always tell people that he sort of pursued me. It wasn't necessarily like predator prey kind of, but he was checking me. I was not checking him. I mean, if he never said anything, we never would have, because it wasn't like that. But
and the thing is, as it went along, like I said, my feelings developed a whole lot quicker than hers did. So, I tell her, look, you need to tell this doggone girl that, hey, you feel some kind of way about her. And I thought it was about that time, and I said, I love you. She said, yeah, okay, I got you.
no, that's not how it went. You told me, you said, I love you. And I said, I'm not at that point yet that I can say I love you. So I'll just say, I got you. And there was a silence on the phone, because we're just talking on the phone. There was a silence. So I knew that he felt a little deflated because I didn't say it right back. But I was just being honest with myself. There were feelings there, but I don't want to say I love you too soon. So it was, I got you. And it was that way for a while. And then there was one day I felt comfortable.
Oh, wow.
He said it to me, and I'm like, well, I love you too. And it's been I love you every day since.
I remember that time when I said, I love you, I love you too. And when I woke up, because I fainted, okay? Well, no, she didn't just tell me she loved me too. That's okay. Now we finally get somewhere.
And we're from Nashville, Alabama. Well, that's where we live, but Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville, Tennessee. By way of Alabama and by way of California.
I was in my last year at Oakwood, and had been without a boyfriend for about 6 months, and Spencer had just graduated and came on with Marriott when Oakwood signed on to contract Marriott, and he was the first manager with them coming to Oakwood, and they introduced him to some of the students, and me being one of the students, looked up away from the table and saw this very handsome guy, but they asked to take pictures, so we could take pictures together of just the manager with some of the students, and we took a picture. I thought he was very handsome, but just knew for sure he was married with kids, whatever. Very serious guy, and I saw him every day. I came to the cafeteria, working hard behind the scenes, and just every time our eyes met, he looked down, and I would turn away or whatever. So one day I asked one of the workers if he was married. And they were like, I don't know, let me ask. I said, no, don't ask. I don't want to go out like that. No, it's okay. And he said, you sure? I said, I'm positive. He said, okay, I won't ask him. And then I had been telling my girlfriend who graduated a year before me, told him that there's this very attractive manager who came to Oakwood, and you have to see him when you come. And she was excited about getting to the food alumni weekend, and so she wanted me to get her a ticket. Unbeknownst to me, all of the workers were off that Friday for Good Friday, and he was the only one working. I went in to get a ticket, and he was there, and I ran back out and told her, no, I can't go in there, he's the only one in the office. She was like, no, just go, it doesn't matter, just go in there. So when I went in to get the ticket, and we started talking, and we exchanged names, and where we were from, and just started talking for probably 10 minutes, if I can recall. And then he just out the blue said, "Oh, and by the way, the answer is no." And I had a confused look on my face. What do you mean the answer is no? And he said, "I'm not married." And he put his name and his address on the back of the meal card given to me, and said if if I would like to join him for dinner that evening. And I said sure. And he cooked dinner for me that night. We had enchiladas and a very nice conversation, and we became close friends every day. Pretty much every day thereafter, we talked on the phone. We spent time together, going on dates at Taco Bell, and we would go to Boaz shopping on the weekend at the outlet malls away from the city, and just had a nice time.
You also met my mother.
I went with him to Birmingham.
Probably met a couple of childhood friends too.
Mm-hmm. And your family.
Yeah. So, a little bit of fun.
You say something about they had that 7-year separation before, yeah.
Yeah, I guess like some young relationships, they're not, when you meet people at a certain point, there's sometimes you still got some growth to go through. And at the time that Michelle and I met, we were both pretty young, in our early 20s, and not to mention trying to figure out what life had in store for us as far as a career. And all of those things, and just the pressure of just dating one another and trying to get along was a challenge. And we ended up dating about a year, and we went our separate ways. We had some differences, and we ended up going our separate ways and going on with our lives. And several years went past, and I thought about Michelle and how she was doing, but I did remember that the relationship didn't end on a very high note. But we still had one thing in common. We had Carnice Holloway in common, who Carnice at that time was still doing my taxes.
And my taxes also.
And when I was, fast forward about 6 years, I was in another state, and I was in graduate school, and I had to call Carnice about my taxes, and I asked her, "How's Michelle doing?" And she said, "He's doing pretty good." And I said, "Well," and she said, "You think you may want to talk to her one of these days," something like that. And I said, "I don't know, I don't think she'd be too happy to hear from me, so I'm not too sure about that." And so I think Carnice may have mentioned something about me, but she go, "I'll let her know that you asked about her." And then I think we ended up talking one time when I was I ended up calling Michelle. She was in Chicago at the time, and it was just like I kind of assumed it would be that she didn't seem like she wanted to talk to me, and she didn't act like she wanted to talk to me, and I didn't think we'd talk anytime soon. And then lo and behold, about another year after that, we ended up, I don't know, I think you called me. You called me and then invited me to London weekend.
No, you said you'd be in town that weekend to visit your friend Slim. What was his name, Slim?
Philip.
Oh, Philip.
No, I came there to see you, Michelle. I didn't go there to see you. I wouldn't have
Okay.
I came there. I specifically came there to see, because remember, you
We
told
were going to the UNCF banquet.
Yeah, we did. You invited me. You invited me up there to see your parents and stuff. And we ended up we ended up hitting it off again. It seemed like we had met each other for the first time again.
Mm-hmm. We were different people.
Yeah. And decided to keep on conversating. And
He came to visit me a few times in
Chicago.
We ended up going to eat lunch at Nordstrom Cafe, and he said, "What do you think about us? We get along pretty well, don't we?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, what do you think? Do you think we get along well enough to get married?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "What are you saying? Would you marry me?" I said, "Yes." He said, "So we're getting married?" I said, "Yes." And that was it. No ring in the cup, no ring in that. And a cake? No.
I still had to go to California, ask your father,
You
though.
did.
Kind of corny, but I decided that I'd do it. And go up there and ask her dad for a hand in marriage, all the way to San Diego.
In 1987, September the 3rd, I went to a concert in Huntsville, Alabama. I was a freshman at Oakwood College, and some of the football team at Alabama A&M University were plain shirt security. They stopped the people from getting over the barracks to see the artists. And so we met there. He started talking to me because I went to the front, and afterwards he gave me his number and said, call me if you would like to. And so I did not call, but I saw him 3 weeks later.
She wanted to.
You wanted to do a lot of editing. 3 weeks later, I saw him at a party, and then we started talking. We broke up one time during our relationship for about 2.5 months, and then the rest is history.
My kids know that she was hounding me, and I finally gave in.
I have these magical powers.
I met Darnisha at work, and through my fraternity brother, we were friends, and I saw her, I thought she was very attractive, and so I told him he and I were going to go out one night, so I said, well, invite Darnisha. So we went out to a club, whatever, we danced and talked and all that, and so I asked her for her number, and so she was going to start writing it down, so you don't have to write it down, I remember, and so she gave me her number, and so I don't know when I called her. I mean, we were going to see each other at work anyway. I probably called her before we went back to work. I'm sure that was on a Friday night when we went out to the club, and so we started hanging out, and went on dates and stuff, and feelings grew, and so here we are.
Anything you want to add to it? Anything you want to add to it?
His friend did bet, so that he couldn't pull him, so he wanted it.
How much was the bet for?
I don't know. Seriously, I don't even know.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something.
So he just took it on as a challenge. He didn't know what he was getting into. Put that Louisiana mojo on him.
So you.
We met in, well, you were in college, you were a freshman, and I was a senior in high school. And he was he was roommates with my sister's boyfriend. And your story is a little different from mine, because my sister told me that one of her boyfriend's friends wanted to meet me. And you said something different.
It's your love story.
Oh! Long story short, we met. He ran. He didn't run. We met. We had a first date. It was 6 of us, 3 couples. We went out, and I guess just continue dating from there, because I don't think we ever dated anybody else after that, did you? Well, let me tell my truth. I don't know what his truth is. Let me tell you my truth.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's my truth. Shoot.
You better say that on camera.
That's our truth.
That's our truth.
Yeah, that's
okay.
our truth.
Our truth. So that was back in 1987. Wow. 87.
So, what's the dynamics of the family, and how many years y'all was married?
I'm talking too much.
Go
It's your
ahead.
turn.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We need you to speak on camera, sir.
The dynamics of what now?
The family.
Of our family?
Yeah.
Okay. How long we've been married? We've been married for 29 years. This past December. We have 4 daughters. 4 beautiful daughters. 28, 24, 17, and 16. Yeah, I remember. It's getting a little tricky every now and again.
Yeah.
I get the names kind of mixed up a little bit too, but those are the dynamics. So I have 6 women.
5. You know,
5.
No,
I
know.
5 women.
women.
Okay, we got to cut this. 6 women. My number 6. Okay, I miscounted. I told you it's getting a little foggy. It's getting a little foggy. 5 women. You got your 5 women.
It wasn't really a big adjustment for me because I've been married a couple times before, so I just knew that it wasn't all about me. So I would just try to do everything I could for her, so she wouldn't have to do it, and then she would do the same in turn for me. So it wasn't really no big adjustment because, like I said, we wasn't a traditional family, so that the kids kind of like came first. So we put our stuff on the back burner until they all start getting out the house.
We married when I was 40. So I was used to not having to run anything by anybody. And, all the decisions that were made, I made them. They were in my head, or I didn't have to talk about them. So the biggest adjustment for me was, number 1, always having Gary in my space. I relished closing my door and not having to talk for the rest of the night. For those of you who know Gary knows that's not his story. Gary likes to talk. So I had to adjust to that. Also adjust to communicating with him. Gary loves to communicate. He loves to talk. He loves to know stuff, know things. So I having to communicate these things to him and not keep everything in my head, or even thinking, because I talk to myself quite often. Oh, I told him that already, when actually I didn't.
You finally admitted, yes.
Honey, that was just like a handful of things. I can't even count how many times I did that on one hand. That was maybe 3 times. No. So that was a very big personal adjustment to our marriage.
I think for me, we're both very strong-willed. I tend to be able, and I think it's just, I'm a nurturer by nature. And then, of course, me being a nurse, that's what I do. I love on people, I nurture them, that's what I do. So I'm a whole lot more tolerant than Elliot. A whole lot more tolerant than Elliot. It takes a lot for me to get angry. It takes a lot for me to cut somebody off. It just takes a lot for me. He, on the other hand, I say our favorite word is, or my favorite phrase to him is, it doesn't have to go from 0 to 10, just everything, 0 to 10. Sometimes it's just a 1. Sometimes it's just a 2. But for Elliot, it's either 0 or 10. And so that's something he's growing and learning. But the biggest adjustment for me has been, I don't always have to say what I'm thinking. Because if he says something and I'm like, that was dumb, that was stupid, you didn't have to do it. But that's what I'm thinking. But I'm having to learn not to say that, because he always says to me sometimes, it's my tone, and we talked about that in our session today. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. So he'll get angry with me that I say something when that was not my intent for it to come off, that I was, trying to say it in a mean or, degrading kind of way, but then he takes it that way. So the adjustment for me is, I don't always have to say what I'm thinking, so ultimately picking and choosing your battles. Because I know for Elliot, he will argue about anything. If you put it up there, he'll argue about it. I don't like to argue. Not that he likes to argue, but he will argue. If you put the topic out there and you want to go there, he's going there with you. For me, I've learned just, you know what, I'm not doing this today, so I just don't say anything, which I'm having to learn from him. He doesn't receive that well all the time either, because for him, that makes him feel like I'm shutting down and I'm not communicating with him. But in my mind, I'm not saying anything because I know it's going to progress into an argument, and I don't want to argue. So I would say the biggest adjustment for me is just learn how to be quiet sometimes, just not say what I'm thinking.
Now, my biggest adjustment, you know, 30 years in the Marine Corps, so I'm very unyielding. She mentioned tolerance, very low tolerance level. I just do. I've had to adjust, and I supposed to tell her if when we got to a certain point, okay, baby, I'll adjust. I'll adjust with that because I'll marinate on it half a heartbeat, and I say, look, hell, okay, if you're gonna make this thing work, well, you need to adjust. How much do you love me? I love enough to know I'm gonna adjust with have you. So, you know, my biggest adjustment has been learning how to adjust, not be so unwavering, and realizing, hey, you know what? She doesn't want to accomplish this or do this your way, okay? Even though your way is the right way, it ain't the only way. So that's been my biggest thing, just adjusting to my partner's needs, wants, and desires, and I'm still learning.
And of course, there's an age difference with Ellen and myself, and I think sometimes some old school things that he just thinks are set in stone, and me being younger, there's some things that I'm more flexible about. So he's, I think, adjusting and learning. You know, it doesn't have to be the old school traditional way with everything. I can do some stuff a different way. Yeah.
With me, I think that I think you go through a period where you have to understand that in a marriage that you have to share everything, and that that was challenging for me. I think at one time I thought it would be okay if Michelle had her stuff and I had my stuff. She had her side, I had my side. I mean, we still have things that we call ours, but sometimes those things still get used by the other person, and I have to learn that you kind of got to get over yourself in that regard, and because once you live in a household, you pretty much share everything, and I've had to learn that and adjust to get over that. I like to tell Michelle that she finally wore me out to where I know now it ain't no me fighting it. I know you're gonna get into something that I value and think is mine, and so why complain? So I just say that you finally wore me down, so I don't even bother to complain about it no more. If the toothpaste missing, I'll be like, she got the toothpaste.
Right.
And then Michelle, sometimes I'll be yelling, Michelle, what the toothpaste at? How you know I had the toothpaste? And
It's okay. The biggest individual adjustment for me would probably be he's very deliberate and scheduled and organized, and I was not. Being the free spirit that I am, I had to prioritize, and it's an everyday challenge still. After 15 years of marriage, I still have to do a better job of scheduling and organizing, because I do have someone that I'm accountable to, whereas before I did not. And I'm now accountable to him, and if he asked me, did I do this, I would like to say yes. And sometimes when I forget or have to say no because something else came before that, it's disappointing to me, because I feel myself saying that I let him down because he depended on me, because he's so scheduled and organized. So that was a big adjustment for me.
How we were both brought up, completely different. So I think our biggest obstacle since we've been married is raising the children. That's what I feel as though was the biggest obstacle, because our point of views on how to raise kids was completely different. My household growing up, we were raised, and I'm not saying his wasn't in love, but ours was in love. So you got a spanking in love. I didn't grow up in a family where we had yellers or screamers. My parents weren't yellers or screamers, never cursed, none of that kind of stuff. It was, you're getting disciplined for this because of this. We love you, but this is the consequences of your actions and stuff like that. I didn't grow up in a family where you you just got your needs. I got some wants too, versus his upbringing. Since we've been married, he always says you don't need that. And I have to reiterate to him that everything is not about a need. You don't go to work just for your needs. You do go for some of your wants, you know. So I think that's been our biggest obstacle.
Well, I concur with some of that. But a lot of it, like I said, is the way we were brought up. I was brought up with no holds barred. I was brought up when your parents told you something and did something, that's exactly what it was. And she might not think that it was a love whooping, but it was a love whooping because they loved you, that's why they told you not to do it. And when you did it, they didn't have to explain to you why they were doing it. They had already explained to you why not to do it. So to me, the double explanation it wasn't warranted. You know,
my mama just didn't bust me in the head with a shoe.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but see, those things that when my mom did hit me in the head with the shoe, that's because I used profanity and told her I wasn't gonna do this blankety blank something, and mamas didn't play back then. So, and I concurred. My mom loves me to life, but she just wasn't gonna tolerate it, and I applaud her for that because that turned me into who I am today. I take care of my business. She's always taught me that. I'm frugal. Well, as they call me, cheap. I'm frugal. And I like to save money. And I think you have to save your money for what you really, really, really want. And Miss Holloway likes to save money for what she wants. So I got a couple other really, reallys in there before I get to want. And she doesn't have that really, really.
And he has never gotten to them. In 27 years, the really, really, really?
Yeah. And I get fussed at a lot because she said, just get it. And I'm like, well, no, that's not right now.
Learning to compromise, learning to consider her feelings or however, or what the impact of my decisions would be. You know, so learning to think, having to think about someone other than myself, I guess was probably the biggest adjustment.
No adjustment needed.
Yeah. I'm thinking we're still adjusting as we go. So I don't even know if you ever, you know, get to a point where you're not adjusting. So, it's so much, you know. But just, I guess the biggest adjustment for me was actually learning how to submit. So learning how to not be so independent and allow him to be the lead and trust in that the decisions that he was making was in the best, that he makes is in the best interest of our family. So
that, if I can kind of add to that, I learned, and it did take me long to learn, that was a matter of developed trust. I had to earn that trust from her to allow me to, that she would trust me to lead her and our family in the right direction. That my decisions were in the interest of the family. That's an earned trust. So I worked, to earn that trust. I didn't expect her. Well, I did expect her. I didn't realize that it was done. I didn't initially realize I needed to earn that. But when I figured it out, then that was what I was trying to do, so we wouldn't have to keep sparring over, the direction we were going.
Just in terms of maturing and just growing up, because when I met her, I was a boy. I I was a boy physically and mentally. You know, I thought I was a man, but I was 19. When I met you, I was 18, I think, or 19. But we married young.
You were 18. I was
We married. I
17.
was 20. And you know, you're thinking that you're coming into your own, or you think that you have arrived, should I say, already as a man at that age. But I was a young man. But maturity-wise, I was nowhere near, you know, in terms of where I thought I was. So in being in a relationship with my wife, just growth, you know, I had to grow up. We had immediate, almost immediate responsibilities and additional, you know, in terms of, in addition to our relationship, you know, we had a child as well. So we had to grow up a lot.
Fast.
No, I did grow up fast. Yeah, to grow up fast.
We started dating in '87, and we had our first child in '89.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So.
And you touched earlier on the fact that you and I come from different backgrounds.
Right.
You know, totally different. Opposites attract kind of really speaks to our relationship.
Right.
Because single parent household.
Stable.
I came from two-parent household.
Male, female. Yeah.
Yeah. Both mom and dad were present at all times. My father was a very strong figure, you know, and he was a motivator as well. So I don't know, maybe I kind of got that from him. You know, because you talk about the pushing that I did.
Yeah. You didn't need any help with that.
No, it was inbred.
It was inbred.
It was.
Yeah, I knew that early.
Communicate. And life is short, so enjoy it. I was always planning and saying, okay, we'll do this eventually. But Gary is more spontaneous. He's like, okay, let's do it now. So having to learn to enjoy it today. Life is short. So enjoy today for today. And we'll take care of tomorrow, but why worry about it tomorrow? Why worry about it today? So biggest lesson, that was something that I had to learn to adjust to, or a lesson that I had to learn in our marriage.
Well, my biggest lesson I had to learn was, and I'm still working on it till this day, trying to perfect it, and that is getting my point across in the language that she can receive. So
that's a
better we communicate all the time when we converse, you know, and we speak, but effective communication is what I had to work out with her, because I would think she picked up what I was putting down, where she actually just stepped over what I put down. So and then that would, I try to explain myself. So the more we speak with each other, that starts getting better. You know, I could stay up all night. That's another lesson I had to learn, is I stay up all night until an agreement comes, or we decide on something. Then I can have a good night's sleep. It don't matter. As soon as the sun goes down, it don't matter what's going on. We can have something that we got to do in the morning. She be like, well, I wake up an hour before we got to do it, and I'll figure it out then. And that's just not me, because I'll stay up all night.
Because I'm a morning person, he's a night person.
Yeah, so I had to just learn that, you know, give it to her the way she want to get it, how she want to receive it. So that was one of the biggest lessons I learned.
There is a 15-year age difference. Cradle robber. The biggest lesson, I think for me, there again, I think it comes just from, you know, my upbringing and then just my occupation, working together and being a team. And one thing I can say about us, we may have what they say today, confrontational fellowship every now and then, but when it comes to the end of the day, we make a really, really good team, because, you know, something that he knows or he's experienced before, and then I put my spin on it. We really we work together, and it's almost one of those like movers and shaker kind of things. We make things happen. We come together and we make things happen, and that's important, I think, for us and in a relationship. So my advice or lesson for somebody else is, one, the age difference doesn't matter, and two, being friends creates the teamwork, and you have to have teamwork in order for your marriage to be successful.
I agree. I can't. I'll piggyback on that a little bit. One of the lessons I've learned is, okay, just because you're X many years older than her doesn't mean that, her opinion doesn't carry some weight or what have you. They say ain't no fool like an old fool. And, sometimes during this relationship, I've been that old fool or what have you. And I put myself in that position because I was wait a minute. Ellie, you're 15 years older than this chick. What the hell does she know that you don't know? I have no experience. And
I have taught you lots of things. So.
You have taught me a lot of things. And I don't know if you'll see the movie. Just read between the lines.
No, but the other lesson too is, if you were saying what wisdom could you impart to another couple, is my lesson that I've had to learn is to accept Elliot for who he is. I love him. He is my partner. He's my lover. He's my friend. But Elliot is Elliot, and Angela is Angela, and I'm gonna do me and be me. Elliot's gonna do him, and I have to. Even though sometimes, look, certain things like, babe, chill that back a little bit, or he'll say, babe, bring it on down a little bit, and we know that about each other. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I know Elliot is Elliot, and I have to allow him to be himself, because when I try to make him be somebody else or try to mold him into what I think he should, then he's going to resent that. And just like our session today, that makes him feel like I'm controlling him, and I can understand that, and vice versa. He has to allow me to be me. We don't always love everything about our spouses, but we have to respect them enough to say, you know what, because I do love you this much, I'm going to have to just let you be you. So that's my lesson. Just love him enough to let him be who he is.
Be giving. Be giving of yourself. Be giving of just your thoughts, your time. Just be giving, because I think that that's one of the things that makes me happy about him, is that he works so hard, and then when he does have some time, he's willing to give that to his family, whether it be me or his children, whatever, or knowing that there's just things that have to be done, he will put us at the top of the list, and then for me to do the same for him, to be just giving, just more giving and loving and kind, because without that, to me, in a marriage, it's dead.
I would just say that learn from your mistakes and be willing to change, and not just say that, well, this is just the way I am. Well, sometimes the way you are is not the best way to be, and sometimes you have to do things differently, because if you continue to get the same result doing the things that you're doing, then you need to come up with another way to get the same result. Something's wrong with that. So, because I know that there are things that, in ways I felt in our relationship at one point, I didn't feel that way as time passed, and I wasn't. I hadn't always. I've been at my best and my worst in this marriage in some areas, and I remember some of those worst parts, and I don't want to repeat those things. But I think that I learned from that, and you just have to be willing to change, or you have to repeat the same mistakes over and over again.
Don't sweat the small stuff. But the only caveat to that is, I think small stuff is different. The small stuff is different to different people. So small stuff to me may be big to him and vice versa. But in general, and I think he said it today, don't sweat the small stuff. Life is too short. You gotta choose your mountains, is what he said today. Choose your mountains that you want to climb.
And I'm just the opposite. I sweat the small things because I was always taught if you didn't sweat the small things, they became bigger things. So that's always been a conflict. She always says it's not that big, it's not that deep. Well, it's not that big or deep because we're addressing it now. But if you left it alone, it would become a bigger problem. So we have a conflict on those type of things like that. But overall, I've got the whole totality of the question.
your biggest lesson in marriage, if you wanted to speak on how somebody can have a long marriage like you are?
You need Jesus.
Yes, Lord.
Every day, all day.
Yes, Lord. And you got to be willing to compromise. And I think I've done that. I've changed a lot over the years. And that's because, they bring up some stuff, between her and my kids, bring up certain things. And I'm one of those people that, if 7 people say it, it's probably somewhat true. So you start to make little adjustments. So I make little adjustments. Like I said, I can't lose me, but you can make subtle adjustments and try to make it a little better.
You can't be selfish. And your spouse is not responsible for your happiness. So if you're not happy, it's not necessarily their fault. Happiness is internal, and your spouse can only add to it. And it's not 2 halves that make a whole. You have to be a whole person when you get married.
The devil has 2 weapons, and that's pride and selfishness. And that's what he uses to tear apart a relationship. And God has 2 tools, and that's compromise and forgiveness. And so that's what love, that's a big part of love, compromise and forgiveness. And so you have the compromise and forgiveness over here, and you have the pride and selfishness over here. And so in order to have a successful marriage, this one has to be higher than this one.
Oh, sacrifice. Everything is no longer about you anymore.
Right.
Not just with marriage, well, mainly with marriage, but also when you start to have kids. Everything is about sharing, about giving up yourself, not always putting yourself first. So there are lots of lessons you learn when you are working as 2 instead of 1.
I agree. That is the lesson. The lesson learned in marriage is just selflessness. In terms of having to give of yourself. That's something that I know personally that I had to learn because I was accustomed to getting everything that I've asked for. Everything that I asked for from a boy. Raised by a single parent mother, who in essence catered to me. In essence, almost with everything. If I wanted this, I was like, oh, you can, oh. But growing and coming into a relationship as a man and a husband, I had to realize that I had to give up myself, and that is, and you don't want to say the biggest compromise because sometimes you hear the word compromise and it has sometimes a negative connotation to it, but it is what it is. It is a compromise in a positive sense because when I gave up myself, I know that giving up myself, I was filling her. I'm pouring into her, should I say. I was pouring into her, pouring my love into her as well as our children, our daughters as well. So that was a lesson that I had to learn. And it was a hard lesson. It was, it was a hard lesson. But with time, she stuck with me. And I learned that lesson. And I'm fortunate for it. Grateful.
We learned each other's love languages later in life as well.
Right.
Because how I was presenting love to him is not how he wanted to receive it, and vice versa.
Right.
So once we learned that you appreciated things
Right.
a different way than the way
So
I was used to offering them,
Right.
and vice versa,
Right.
then we learned how to
How to love.
pretty much.
How to love, right.
Pretty much.
That's good. I could tell you, I would suggest when it comes to marriage retreats, I've never been on one before. We never been on one before, and I haven't one period. But the thing was, every time we go, this is our second one we went to.
Yeah. At that time.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. The camaraderie of other couples, and we met other couples and people with the same things that we going through, and we even seen other blended families that was blended like ours, that was in different, you know, live in different cities and stuff, as far as Chicago and Atlanta and things like that. And we were in Gatlinburg at this marriage retreat, but I'm glad I went to marriage retreat because there was no judgment. You know, you have a few friends you can speak freely around, and they'll just allow you to speak, and they won't try to judge you. But when you get in a room full of other couples, the people newlyweds up to 30, 40 years old, and everybody just putting their stuff out there, transparency, you know,
and not putting it out there to be nosy, but seeking help, and other people who are offering that help.
Exactly.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's good. That's good. You know, so that's why I said, why marriage retreat? I would have never learned that there are couples out there that are transparent as us, and even more, and that's been married longer than us. Because sometimes we feel most of our friends are in a traditional marriage. So when we had problems or situations come up with the family, our blended family, we would feel, I don't know about you, I'll say for me, I would feel that, okay, yeah, y'all been married and y'all got a couple kids too, but y'all don't understand what we're going through. And it just can't do it. I mean, that's just like they say a mother can't raise a strong black man, the father got to be involved. It's the same thing with a blended family. If they were in a blended family, I think they can understand more of what we were trying to tell them, what we were going through, because they would speak more or less like individuals. But the marriage retreat, you can always find somebody there that you connect with. It was all black folks there, but I'm sure if it was broad into
there were a few white people, mixed couples.
But I mean, I'm sure you can always connect with somebody. So that's one thing. I will continue to go to marriage retreats as long as we can keep up with them. What about you?
I would say I first start out by saying a marriage retreat is so very, very important and fun, but for other couples, I wouldn't want you to think that you have to go on a marriage retreat. A retreat for us is just getting away, just a weekend to ourselves. That's a retreat, a marriage retreat. It helps your marriage, and it builds on our marriage. So, but to go to a marriage retreat with other couples with with similarities in our marriages, especially, it's important for us as a blended family. I don't know why, with the billions of people in the world, you couples think we're the only ones going through this, But when we get around other couples who are going through some of the same or similar things, who offers, words of encouragement. It's very encouraging and motivating for us. And it helps me take a step back and say, maybe you're not so crazy after all. Or maybe I'm not so crazy after all. There are other people who are going through some of the same things. And just the camaraderie, going to those workshops and talking to all of these. I like when they break off and it's just the women, because women, we can really discuss some stuff, and then the men are over on the other side discussing some much needed things also, and then getting back together and just dialoguing about a few things that we're discussing, not everything. It's really just really good and motivating and encouraging for our marriages.
And the late night, in the chalet.
I was about to get to that part, and that's that part. But then the camaraderie, it's like 2 marriage retreats, because what happens in your chalet with your chalet members and those couples, it's also fun. Staying up late, playing games and talking and dialoguing about just a lot of different stuff, and doing it away from home, uninterrupted. No children, no really phones. Our phones are in the room somewhere. Just being so relaxed and beautiful and in nature. I mean, it's so uplifting for me as a woman, for me as a wife, as a mother, a friend. I will go to marriage retreats as long as we can find them and have couples who we can do them with.
I know for me, because initially when we started coming 6 years ago, I just came because, you know, we had met some folks, and I just figured, hey, look, I really don't need any advice from anybody as far as them talk to me about my marriage, anything and stuff. I got this. But Beans House, some buddies of ours, some friends of ours are going up. We'll go up also. So you go to that first one, and if you're really astute about what it is somebody's talking about, you'll pick up on something that, hey, you know what? I think I need to do that. I think I need to start trying to tailor my attitude toward what this facilitator is talking about. Because if you're really honest with yourself, okay, you know you ain't all that. You know you ain't all that, what have you stuff. Sometimes you need to sit back and, you know, listen to that facilitator, and also listen to, you know, the other folks in attendance, what have you stuff. Some of them have the same problems that you have, and when you start listening how they handle it, what have you stuff, and you'll think back to a situation, you say, you know what, maybe she wouldn't have drew that knife on me if I had handled it like that brother did and stuff. Okay? So no, I initially came for fun because, again, at my age, hey, what can you tell me about marriage? I don't already know, what have you. And I was just as wrong as a football bat. I've learned quite a few things coming to these retreats and stuff, you know.
And the same, I'm with Elliot. The first time that we got invited, of course, these are some dear friends of ours, so any opportunity we get to go hang out with them, we're ready to go. So when they invited us, they sort of gave us a little bit of a gist of what it was about, but still truly not knowing what we were getting into, for lack of a better word. But I remember the very first year that we came, I think I cried the whole weekend because it really, really touched me. First of all, I'm going to cry now to see so many black couples loving each other enough to take the time out and trusting God and trusting the people that they're in chalets together with, and trusting the environment that I love my spouse. I want this to work, and if I need the experiences of other people to help facilitate a better relationship for me and my husband, I'm willing to receive that. And from the very first time that we came, just people being open and honest and being transparent that none of us know. I mean, you know, you don't, just like with children, you don't get into a marriage with an instruction book and it failed because you didn't read page 3. You don't get instructions, and it's a day-to-day, you know, minute-to-minute, month-to-month kind of thing, and it's a work in progress. So sometimes I think people do think, oh, we got it all together, until you get to talking to other people and learning other things, and you like, well, shoot, we got some work we need to do. And it's been a blessing. I mean, it has really, really been a blessing for us to come. And then every year we've met new people and grown new relationships. And like now, Ellie and I were just talking about it this week and coming up here. We're like, for some reason, the last, he said, what, year, 2 years? It just didn't feel like the retreat was as in-depth as it was when we first used to come. Because when we first used to come, we left this mountain different. I mean, you know, because we gained so much. But I don't know, maybe it was just last year.
It was just last year.
Last year I enjoyed. I mean, I'm always receptive, but it just wasn't deep for me. And it happened again today. Today was wonderful. I mean, that was what I was used to getting when we came. Things that, you know, evoke conversation when we got back to our cabin, and people sharing and talking, and you know, that's what we did the first couple of years that we came. But then it almost sort of seemed like we were all just here for fun. We go to the meetings, come back, and we're done. But I really need it today. And I think the question was, why do you think retreats? I think, one, you know, not to make it be a racial thing, but, you know, it is primarily a black retreat. I think it's wonderful, but because the statistics are against us as black families anyway. And I would advise anybody and everybody that's married or thinking about being married. That's the whole point of counseling and, like I said, retreats and, you know, learning and growing, because we don't know everything. I mean, it's like, you know, taking it biblically. If we all read a scripture, we're all going to come away with something different. But if I share what I think with you, and then you share what you think with, you know, then we can come out of this like, you know what, I've read that scripture 5,000 times, but I never you know, I never saw that. I never whatever. And I think that's where this retreat is wonderful for us. I think it's, you know, if it continues to grow, it would be the reason that I would invite other people to come, because iron sharpens iron. You know, if we're doing good and working and we see another couple that we can help, you know, they're doing good, but they need to work as well. It's just us strengthening each other, and overall it's about strengthening Black marriages and strengthening Black communities. So I think this retreat does that.
I'm very positive about it. I mean, the people, I've only shared it with a handful of folks, but I've been very positive about it. You know, I think it's a good opportunity for Michelle and I to spend some time independent outside of our somewhat everyday grind with our responsibilities at home. It's a good opportunity for us to interact with old friends and meet new people and learn new things sometimes, because sometimes, you know, we don't necessarily see and interact with couples much during the year, but it is good to see them when you come back together to this place and learn of things that may have changed and things that have happened in their lives. So I say, you know, it's always to get around like-minded individuals, because though we may not be the same in each other, what we do have in common is that we're individuals and couples trying to navigate our relationship and trying to learn ways to love one another and stay together. And I think that we have an opportunity to observe what other people are doing, just on the outside a little bit. You don't get deep, but you get a chance to see how other people are with their spouses, and you get the chance to hear people share information. And I think it's a good thing. You know, I mean, you know, I try to consider myself a judgmental person, and I try to keep an open mind, you know, when I see and observe things. And I think it's always something positive to glean in every situation. Try to learn in every situation.
I think that the takeaways from the marriage retreat that I would tell somebody is, it's almost like community therapy, you know, like to see how others live, see what you can take away from their experience through the seminars, the talks with the main speakers. It's very informative, a lot to learn from it, very educational, and just the camaraderie of the chalet and the friends we made by coming each year. We get to know them better and better each year, and we have more intimate laughs and communication, and the food. The food is amazing. Oh, the food. Thanks, please.
It's just another part of getting together. It allows you to see that you're not the only ones going through the same stuff. There's no perfect marriage. Everybody has issues. And you can kind of come together, discuss those issues, even the good stuff and the bad stuff. And it's fellowship with other couples, you know, and people that are at different levels in their marriage, how long they've been married and stuff. And especially for those that have not been married that long, I'm sure it is a benefit to them as well.
Right, I concur with that. It's like, and also this marriage retreat, the way we have certain meetings and stuff that go on, even what happened today. And, you know, I've always thought that, you know, it was my job pretty much to make sure she was happy. And, you know, I don't always live up to that. I fall short a whole lot. But it's not because I'm not trying. And then the lady told me today, said, that's not none of your job to make her happy. I was like, I never heard that before. I've always thought that was the male was to provide, protect, and, you know, to make his family, you know, feel safe and happy. But you learn different stuff up here that you can apply. And that's the main thing. Like, say you have different points of views and you have different aspects of life, and you have different solutions of how to handle certain problems that you might be going through. And you think that you might be the only one going through it, but then there's somebody else that gives you another aspect of saying, hey, I went through that problem and this is what I did. And whereas you wouldn't probably have that type of interaction otherwise.
You could learn something. It was said today at the retreat. You never, I should just say this. To be successful in a marriage relationship, you have to always be willing to learn and grow. The marriage retreat helps you learn and grow. From the things that you hear the facilitators say, from things you hear other participants say, can put new thoughts in your mind, and it can clarify other thoughts in your mind, both pros and cons of things that you may or may not have done. And it shows commitment to my wife, that I'm willing to come here and I want to come here in order to learn how to be a better husband. It's not for me to come here to make her a better wife. It's for me to come here to give her a better husband.
I think coming to marriage retreats, you can get a more realistic view of marriage. You can also fellowship with other people and hear people be transparent and share their issues, because sometimes in marriage you feel like you're the only one that's going through this, and then you find out that there's a lot of commonality. And also by coming to marriage retreats, it kind of dispels myths about marriage. Most people just, hey, if it don't work, I can get out of it. But you can actually be with people who are actually trying to make it work and get the tools that you need and learn some skills that you need in order to be successful.
I almost feel like it's almost like kind of going to church. Sometimes it's better to hear a different opinion, a different standpoint. It's good to be able to open up to other people, hear what they have to say. There are some things you learn and take away that you would never get unless you actually went into that building and had that conversation, was able to, fellowship and commune with those people.
Right.
So
Be those married couples or even those facilitators, whoever's presenting. You never stop learning. You never stop learning.
You should never stop working on your marriage.
Yeah, you should never stop. There's always something
that we can learn.
We could
be 50 years married.
Right.
Somebody could teach us something.
Right.
And then we could also help teach somebody something else
as well. Right. So it's beneficial from both sides of it, in terms of us receiving whatever's being offered. Hopefully, someone can see that, we've been married for a while and look at our relationship and say, well, hey, take some things from ours that they see, us, living, whatever, they may have, some advice or, whatever. Our marriage and our relationship can be beneficial to someone else.
Let me try to think of one word to describe you would be.
You are so crazy.
Compassionate.
Dependable.
Honest.
Magnificent.
Disciplined.
Nice.
Strong.
Consistent.
Giving.
Loving.
Man, in every aspect. Every aspect. A father, dependable husband, dependable friend, dependable brother, dependable son, son-in-law, uncle. Dependable.
A very compassionate person. For everyone, not just for me, but I see, she's the kind that will feel for anybody, shed a tear for anybody that's, in any danger or done wrong, anything like that. Whereas me, everything's funny to me, but, she'll laugh too, but she's very compassionate. So that's what balances us out, between her compassionate person and me being an angry or goofy person. She centers me. So That would be my one word.
Elliot is very honest. He's going to tell you like it is, whether you like it or not, whether you want to hear it or not. Sometimes, I guess honesty, there's never an inappropriate time to be honest, but there is. There's some things that Elliot's like, they need to clean out this. Baby, they do, but that's not your place to tell somebody. I mean, that's just not your place. But he's honest to a fault. I mean...
Severely crippled me by wanting to use just one word. She does so many things so well, from caring about you, to loving you, to looking out for other folks, what have you. Magnificent. Magnificent.
He's very disciplined and regimented in his life. And that's what I actually look forward to every day. I needed that, in my life, and he brought that to me. But his love means a great deal to me. But I think within his love is that discipline, is how he shows it.
When I say Michelle is nice, she just strikes me as a person that she gets along with women very well, extremely well with women. She gets along with men well too. But I see her in her everyday life, and it seems like it's natural for her to go out of her way to make people feel good about themselves, and she tries to do that. It doesn't always work. Sometimes people don't always recognize that, but she just built how she built. She naturally goes out of her way. It's just natural. She don't put forth the effort. It just naturally goes out of her way to make somebody feel good about that moment. And what I mean by that is that she can be just talking to a stranger like she knows him. And I be thinking to myself, come on, Michelle, let's go. but let her finish her conversation with that stranger over there. So, but yeah, she enjoys meeting people.
Difficult. That's just the first word that comes to my mind. Well, you can make it two.
Always right.
That's what I was looking for.
I wanted a strong, independent woman. A woman who could actually live without me. I didn't want a woman I had to carry. I wanted a woman who would walk with me and help me achieve the dreams of my life. That's who she is.
I proved I can carry him, didn't I? Did you not see me put him on my back last night?
He is a giver. Thank you. He is, honestly. Thank you. That's the first thing. That's not the only thing, but that's the first thing that came to mind.
Loving. Period. That would be the word that I would use to describe her. She is loving. Has been and remains.
I kind of want to flip that. Sorry. I think I want to say protector.
Protector, okay.
Yeah. I think that's what I say. That's a better word.
Okay. I'll take that.
Going beyond marriage retreats, transparency. You gotta open your mouth. You gotta talk. People will just meet me, whatever, and then, when we get to know each other better, they'll be like, man, I first met you, man, you told me all your business, man, you da-da-da. And I tell you, my life has never been better when I was honest with myself, man up with what I did. You know how people say, be a man about it. If I did it, I did it. And, I want the praise when I do something good, but I don't want nobody to know the bad things I did. So you can't have both. Mm-hmm. So I want people to know this is who I am now, but this is who I used to be that got me to where I am now, and I'm still moving forward. And surround yourself about people that can move you forward, that you see doing positive things. So we start hanging out with the couples going to a marriage retreat, everything is opened up for us. A whole lot. Our life got a whole lot better than it was before we started hanging with them. You still have the same crew you hang with, but just don't bottle yourself in. You got to broaden your horizon. You got to get out there. So that's my final words I would say to everything is don't be ashamed to share your business. My thing is I'm going to tell you everything about me, because when it's done, it's done. If I'm in the middle of doing something, I might not say nothing to you, but when there's the end of it, there's a story to tell. Somebody could learn from it. So I'm not ashamed of that because it's never held me back in doing anything in life.
Good, honey. Very good. I would say my final words would be surround yourself with positive couples. Not just any couple, but just positive couples. There are a lot of people out there who want the best for their marriage, but you have to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone, form those friendships, and make it happen. And don't wait for a marriage retreat to do something with your spouse. We try to do something together a lot. So that could be anything. A weekly date, a weekly dance, a weekly dinner in the house, a weekly game, just anything. TV shows you watch together. Michelle said something. She said she and Spencer have couch dates. And I thought, that's nice, you know.
That's good.
Have a couch date. Just time that you spend together. And I would also say, ask for what you want. For Gary, this is my one and only husband. I don't plan on having another one. But should God, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I don't plan on having another one. This is my one and only husband. So I tell him exactly how I feel. I didn't start out that way because, like I said, it was hard for me to communicate these things. But for the most part, I do tell him stuff, and some stuff he may not like, or some stuff he, may not understand at first. And then I try to think of ways to explain myself to him. But I can't be mad at him for something that he doesn't know about. So I try to communicate those things to him, those feelings to him, and tell him what I want, tell him what I don't want, and tell him what I think. And, being with him, who's a huge communicator, has allowed me to communicate a whole lot better. Like I always tell him, he's my guy. So I may as well have as much fun with my guy as I possibly can, with this one life that we have to live. So enjoy yourself, make the best of it in life and in your marriage. And those are my final words.
No, hey, look, I just thank all the people that we're here with, for wanting, letting us share this weekend with them. I do that every weekend. But we have met some superb doggone personalities. I wish there's some kind of way we all could live in the same subdivision, what have you. My party shot is okay. Even if you can't, for some reason, don't want to attend a marriage retreat, start rubbing elbows with good people who have good, strong, solid marriages, at least from your observance. It can't do anything but help yours.
In closing, for me, I know that it can be scary for people sometimes to, for lack of a better word, air out their dirty laundry, but we have to be prayerful about who we share things with in our marriage as well as our families. And it's just a blessing whenever you are able to connect with people that you can share. And it's okay to let your guard down and say, we experienced this, or we're going through this, because 10 times out of 10, they've either gone through it, they're about to go through it, or they're coming out of whatever it is you're in the midst of. But the Bible says we have not because we ask not. And if we don't share what's going on with us with somebody else, and you just hold it in, it never gets better, or it never opens up that you can heal some of those things. So I think in closing, for me, like Elliot said, I think it's just a blessing for us, one, that the friends that invited us, they don't even come anymore, and we still come. And we've met new friends that we're able to bounce those ideas and stuff, and in an open, caring environment that we don't have to worry about, well, all your business is going to be in the street next week. I mean, so. And I love you, and I appreciate you.
thank you so much for just allowing us to come into the chalet. This is our 4th year coming, and it's just been just very, very heartwarming and kind of strangers that we didn't know before, and now we do. And they're like family to us now, well, at least to me. I feel that way. It's just like home away from home, living with 5 other couples for 5 days that you didn't know that intimate before. So I thank you for that experience.
I'm thankful. I'm appreciative of it, because I feel like if I wasn't with Michelle, if I hadn't met Michelle, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here in this moment.
I watched the 4 episodes of Black Love, and it was enlightening, especially since they were, known people, known couples, that are on TV shows or artists or whatever. And it was very interesting to see, you kind of know it, but to see them state the stuff, they're just like everybody else. They have issues, they have infidelity, they have, the same issues as people that off camera have. So it was very enlightening, and I think it helps, because some people look up to people. I mean, everybody's on the same playing field to me. I don't care what your occupation is, what your bank account looks like. Everybody has blood running through their veins. Everybody's going to live, everybody's going to die. But I think, especially for people that look up to those stars and stuff, it was probably very helpful to their marriages, knowing that they go through the same stuff that everybody else goes through.
Just happy to be here at the Gatlinburg Marriage Retreat. And I don't have Gary cheat me in some more games. I might be able to win a few.
That you love me so much.
I do love you so
and that
much.
You would do this over again.
Don't put pressure on me.
I would recommend that everybody read, is it Gary Thomas? Gary Thomas, Marriage, The Sacred Marriage. I've learned that marriage really is the one relationship that'll help you develop the characteristics of Christ. Marriage is a good ground for that, because you have to do everything. You have to trust, you have to forgive, you have to compromise. So marriage really can build your character if you allow it to. It's not for punks. I'm sorry. Scratch that. It is not for those who, if stick-to-itness is a word, yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. Punks is politically incorrect. I'm sorry. It's not for the weak-minded at all. So. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say marriage is to make you holy and not happy? Because that's what that's the premise of the sacred marriage. So, the book, The Sacred Marriage. Yeah.
Women are real, or most women are very familiar with the scripture. Love your spouse like God loves the church, right? And that didn't. I mean, I heard it, but it didn't resonate with me as me being the church. The church seems like it's a body of people. So eventually God put it in my mind that the thought that I want to love her like God loves me. And so I think if you can get on that level with your spouse and you love each other like God loves you individually, that is your goal every day, I think you can make it in marriage, because I think then you have goals of what you're trying to do, and you also have a level to come back to when you fall off of that. You ain't off of it. If you're honest with yourself, that when you're not loving your spouse like God loves you. And if you really want to love your spouse like God loves you, you're going to then come back to trying to do that again. Of course, you're going to fall short every day, because you can't love like like God loves you. If that's your goal, to fall just a little bit under that, I think it's gonna be okay.
You know what? I mean, for me, I appreciate, you know, the opportunity to be on film, you know, so to speak. You know, we've always been, our relationship has always been the type of relationship where we've always been kind of private.
Very private.
You know, we have
Intentional.
Right. We don't like to meddle, you know, in other people's relationships. If others ask, you know, questions of us, you know, we'll, you know, willingly give advice or, you know, or whatever.
Share.
Or share. Thank you, or share. But for the most part, how our marriage has survived is we've just kind of poured into each other, into our family, into our friends, and just kept our nose to the ground. Kept our nose to the
Keep
ground.
people out your business.
Yeah, yeah, hey, yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah, and we stay out of their business as well. So you know, and that's been kind of helpful, you know, in our relationship because it allows us to just kind of focus on, you know, on focus on each other and our family, you know, and not meddle and not allow others to kind of meddle, you know, and that's been, you know, fortunate for us.
Peace and love.